Hi there, my friends. Welcome to Indian Story Read Along, and we are going to read today a story from a book called More Tales from the Panchatantra. Panchatantra, people think it's all about animal stories, and part of it is animal stories, but there's a lot of other stories that are about humans and the funny things that humans do and how we can be wiser and smarter people and kinder people as well. So this story is called The Dullard. You may have seen it in different forms, and there's different versions of this same story. But this one is from this particular book, and it's probably the most common one. The Dullard. There were once 4 Brahmins who had grown up together in the same village. 3 of them spent all their time poring over scholarly texts, but not so the 4th. So there they are, the 3 of them are all reading stuff. This guy's climbing a tree, trying to get a mango up there. One day, one of them says, "Why don't we travel to the city? We could make use of our learning and collect a fortune." And then the other guy in blue says, "Not a bad idea, but we're not taking that dullard with us. He'd only be a burden." And then the one in red says, "You're right, he doesn't know a thing." So the guy wearing yellow is a little bit nicer, and he says, "How could you be so unkind? He's grown up with us. We can't leave him behind. He'll share what we make." And the other 2 are like, "Oh, all right, let him come." And so the 4 of them set out. Now this was a normal thing back in ancient times. There was no school then. And they also did not, because of the very, very unfair caste system, they did not allow for people who are not Brahmin men, only them, Brahmana men, to have an education. So they didn't have schools. How did these guys get an education? They would go to their rishis or their guru, who was a rishi, his ashramam in the woods somewhere. They would spend their entire childhood with them. They would not go back until they were almost grown-ups, and then they were going out into the world to earn money from their knowledge. So this is what these guys are aiming to do. As they pass through a forest, whoa, look at them bones. And so the dullard, the guy who we're calling the dullard, the 4th guy, he's thinking, "Oh God, these seem to be the bones of a lion." Now, you got to notice something here. He's not what we might call stupid. He's actually very smart. He's a smart guy. He's just not studying. There's a difference. Those guys were studying. He's still smart, but he didn't want to study. So remember that, all right? So then the guy in red says, "Why don't we test our learning on these bones? I can put the bones together and make a skeleton." And then the guy in blue says, "I can give the skeleton muscle and skin." And then the guy in yellow says, "Well, if you do that, I can breathe life into it." Now look, the guy in white, the dullard, is over there, and he's just standing there scratching his head. And he's like, "Wait, what? You're going to do what with that?" So let's see what happens. So then the guy in red puts the bones together, and then they all take a look at it, and then the guy in white is thinking, "Good Lord, my guess was right. It is the skeleton of a lion." The blue guy says, "That was really clever of you." And then the yellow guy says, "You are a scholar indeed." Now, if they stopped there, it would be normal. They could just walk along and then continue their lives. It would be fine. But they're not going to do that. So then the second guy says, "Now it's my turn. Watch this." And then he has, I don't know what kind of mantras or what he's saying, but then he has this magical glow come out from his hands and envelop the skeleton, which is standing up. And then it puts muscle on that thing. And then what? It puts skin and hair and nails and teeth on that lion. And then the guy in yellow says, "Do you see that?" He's saying that to the guy in white, the dullard. "Do you see that? Now, don't you wish you too had learned all this? Aren't you eager to see it come alive? And then the guy in white is like, no, no, I am not. It's a lion. If it comes alive, it will kill us all. Please don't. Now look what the response is. The guy in yellow says, "Be quiet, you ungrateful fellow. It was I who coaxed the others to let you come along, and now you want to deny me the chance to test and prove my scholarship." And the guy in red says, "Ignore him. What does he understand of these things? This is just ridiculous. These guys have completely lost all idea of how to use their knowledge. And that is so important. So when you guys are in school, your teacher is going to be like, okay, well, here's how we do 1 + 1, and then here's how we use it in real life. We'll be counting money. We'll be counting dimes and nickels and different kinds of coins. But these guys, they understand how to use it, but they have no clue, despite being grown-ups, that what's a good idea and what's a bad idea. And a bad idea is using this important knowledge all over the place. And that's what this guy, the dullard, look, he's trying to think like, look at his face. He wants to try to convince them, but they're not going to listen. And he knows that. So he's very, very bright in that sense. So he's like, all right, look, all right, do as you wish, but let it not be said that I didn't, as he's climbing a tree, warn you. Boom, they brought the animal back to life. And then they did not think for a second until they were being attacked that this was a bad idea. Then what? Oh no. The lion was hungry after all that time. And this guy wasn't feeling good about this at all. He's crying and he's thinking, my poor learned friends, if only you had heeded what my common sense told me. So the moral, the lesson from this story is mere scholarship without common sense is futile. That means if you're just reading books and books and books and books and books and books, and you're not thinking about what you're reading or where to use it, there's no point to reading all of that. All right, so we got to learn some real world lessons along with books. I'm really happy that you joined me today on Indian Story Read Along, and I hope you'll join me again next time. If you like this story, think about subscribing. All right, we'll see you soon.